Welcome back to a new video on the MPC, and on this occasion we need to talk about the grid. Remember, this is the episode number 3, is a series or a course. Check the links at the description or the cards to find the other chapters. If you like all of this, please like and subscribe, and this channel is supported by viewers only. If you want to buy me a coffee to say thanks and help the channel keep going on, you can. You have links at the description for PayPal, YouTube Thanks, and Patreon. Alright, so I have a tiny little project right here. If I play it back, I have some drums. And if I go here to the next track, I have some bass. So what I want to do, I want to go to maybe the drums track and start editing by using the grid. Okay, so once inside the grid, you will see all the different events of your track, in this case my program. If I go right here, I'm standing on the tracks number 1, so if you want to change the tracks, you just go there and you can maybe go to different tracks and so on and so on and so on, and you can edit, and just change the tracks from here. You don't need to go to main to do this, right? So you can do it from the option at the top. Just like you would get on a DAW, at the top you have the timeline, the blue line timeline in this case. And this one tells me where I am and how many bars and beats do we have. If I go here, notice it tells me that my sequence, this pattern, it's 2 bars long. But also with this one, we can trim maybe the pattern and it's going to be just 1 bar long. Or we can extend it as much as we want. Of course, if I extend it, we don't have anything right there, so it will not play anything. By default, my pattern, it's 2 bars long. If I trim it to 1 bar and play it back, of course, that's what we will get. But you can, if you have the magnifier selected, you can move around and see the events that are off grid, let's say. So you can see them, you're not deleting them. One of the most important tools is going to be the magnifier tool. And for this one, you're going to need to pinch and zoom. This is how it works. You need to drag to the left, drag to the right. But if you want to make it bigger, you just need to pinch and zoom and then, move around the grid. I'm going to make it 2 bars, which is the default for this pattern. Now, when you do this, when you zoom and maybe you don't know where you are, if you want to go back to, what you had from before, right here you have the reset zoom, and it's going to be this tiny little button. If I press it, it's going to reset the zoom and you're back to the beginning. And alright, so like I said before, you can change the tracks, you can change the amount of bars, but at the top, you also have the bars, beats, and ticks, and this is going to be the playhead. When I play it, notice this line? Well, that's the playhead. So what I can do, I can maybe tap on the blue grid, and notice it will let me jump to a different position on the playhead. But also, if you tap right there, with this one, you can move the playhead. And notice that everything, it's moving around the grid that we have at the back. We're going to talk about this in a second. Another thing that you can do, if you hold shift and you move it like this, notice that now it's moving in tiny small amounts and it's still, syncing to the grid that you have at the back. But you need to hold the shift to do this. But maybe you have a better way, and it's going to be the cue links that you have right here. When you press and hold, it will let you know what you can do. In the case of this one, and I'm standing on the first column, it's going to give you the program level, then it's going to be the playhead. So with this one, you can, freely move up and down with the playhead, and then you can do horizontal scroll. But for this one, I'm going to need to zoom. And then with this one, you can move horizontally. And alright, so this is what the default cue links will do. Of course, you can modify the default cue links. I'm going to talk about that maybe on a different video. But in this case, I just wanted to go back, to whatever we had from before, back to the beginning. Now on the device, you have a button that says note repeat. I'm going to have it, I have it right there at the bottom. And I just don't want to move the camera because I guess this is the best spot to be. I'm going to be pressing that note repeat button. When you do so, when you press it, you will be getting different divisions. So this one is the resolution of the grid. And it's also related to the time correct. So if you change it from here, now I am on 1/16, I'm going to be changing the resolution. And maybe you can notice right there on the grid that you're changing the grid. And now it's 1/64, which is a lot. Then 32, then 16s, and we can even go down. So this is, by holding the note repeat, and all of these options belong to the time correct. Still, you have more options. At the top right here, notice it says 32, and if I go back to the node repeat and I change it to 1/16, this one is going to change. So you have pretty much the same function. But if you go to this one and you double tap it, you will have a lot more divisions. And this is, again, it's related to the time correct, but you have a lot more. On the other one, when you press the node repeat, you have the most common used ones. And this one is going to be triplets. So if you're selecting 1/16 and then you press the T, it's going to be triplets. So I'm going to keep it on 1/16 for now. Now I'm going to be zooming like crazy. And I'm going to go back to the beginning. Now, if I play the clip, notice that I'm stuck right here and the screen is not moving. So you do have options for this. If you go to the settings, you have a lot of options. I want to show you right now the auto scroll. So by default, it's off, but you can enable follow. And what this one will do when you play it back, it will just follow the playhead, which is the white line. What else do you get? You get the other option, which is going to be the page. Now, instead of a following, it's going to give you pages. Next page, and the next page, and so on and on and on. And alright, so this is what you can do, to navigate the grid with the magnifier tool and the cue links and, the wheel controls that you have right here. Now we need to talk about everything else, which is going to be changing the events, modifying them, moving them around, and using all the options that you have right here at the bottom. And if you press shift, you have more options. So we're going to talk about all of this right now. Alright, so let's talk about moving events. So at the bottom again, you have different actions like nudge, edit start, and transpose, and so on and on and on. In this case, I want to talk about the nudge. Now, it all starts with the selection tool. So let's say I want to go to, here, and I want to select some of the events. So you will need to go to the selection tool, and you just can tap the event and just select it. Now you can select individual events just like this, or you can just drag and select many. Now you also have something a little bit cool. I'm going to go back to what we had before. So by default, if you don't need to be on this mode, you can use the magnifier tool. So if I play this one, it's going to select that pad. So when I get to one of the pads I'm using, like the kick, notice it's selecting all the events by default. So this means that the function is that when you press a pad, it's going to select all the events. And right here, maybe you want to select them all so you can edit all at once. So this is a nice feature. Just by pressing the pad, you will be selecting all the events. But this is something you can disable. If you go to settings at the top, right here, notice it says hitting pad select all events. So if it's on, it means that you can use it. But if you turn it off, when you press a pad, you will not be selecting all the events. Okay, so I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna maybe zoom right there. There we go. And I'm gonna be using the selection tool. Now, when you're using the selection tool and you go to an event, I'm gonna for now touch it, and I'm gonna press and hold it. Notice that it will give you some information about the event. It's the A6 pad. And then it gives you the location of the event. So this is, how you can know where this is by just tapping and holding. Still, when you select it and you move it around with this one, it will give you the new position of the event and of the event. And this is because I'm using the nudge. The nudge will let you move the event, backwards and then forwards. You can also, you can of course use your finger if you wish, but it's a little bit messy. I much prefer to do it with the wheel. And also you can use your plus and your minus to move it up and then move it down. Now by default, it will move and sync to the grid, snap to the grid that you have at the back. You can change how this works, but you will need to go to the time correct. Now, in this case, I'm going to be pressing the button. It's right here at the bottom. Depends on your, which hardware you're using. So when you go to the time correct screen, you have it on. So if I turn it off and I go back, when I select this, I can freely move the event And this is one way of doing so, just by disabling the time correct. The thing is that maybe I don't like this because I'm disabling and enabling the time correct over and over again just to move tiny little events. You have a better option, which is going to be this function, the don't snap. If I disable this or just, select it, it's not going to snap to the grid. So I can freely move this in tiny little amounts, right? So this is how you do it. Now, depending on the options or the settings that you have, when you disable or you enable the snapping, when you move it, it's going to snap back to the grid. Now, for this, you have two different methods. You have the absolute and you have the relative. And you have it at the top when you go to settings. So the default, it's absolute. And it's, what we just did. If I don't snap and move it, we're going to put it right here and I go back to snap and I move it, it will always snap to the grid. What's with the other one? So I'm going to be going to do the other one. I'm going to say relative. I'm going to maybe say no, don't snap. I'm going to move it. And then when I'm back to snap, it's going to move it, but it's going to be relative to the current position of the event. If I move it, notice that, it's a little bit different. It's not snapping to the beginning of the grid. And all of this depends on, what you want to do or what you need from this, right? So maybe you don't want this. Well, then you need to go maybe and use the default, which is, that's why it's the default is absolute. That when you are snapping, you always go to the grid. Okay, so this is how you can nudge the different events, and it's super useful. So if I'm here and I move this, I can just try different variations of the same thing. If I don't want to snap and I want to offset them, I can. Just by doing that, I can go back to maybe snap, and then maybe I want to select maybe this ones, and then then I can move this ones. So at the beginning, it's just a little bit funny, and it takes a little while to get used to, using all these tools. But with a little bit of practice and, committing the functions to memory, it gets way easier. Really fast. Okay, so now we need to talk about the rest of the options. You have the edit start, edit end, and transpose. As you can see, all the different events are, really super small. So we can edit all of this with the edit start and the edit end. I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna be selecting the edit end. And now with the encoder, I can just make it bigger. And notice again, right here, it will tell you the duration and the length of the clip. It's telling you right there. So that's it. This is how you make the events a little bit longer. You can do the other thing. I'm going to make it really big. And the other way is going to be going to the edit start. If I'm editing the start, it's going to be the start of the clip. Now, what happens if I have something, a little bit long and I want to offset a little bit of the start? Well, you can still enable the don't snap and then go to the edit start and then just edit by a tiny little amount if you must. Whenever you go back to edit snap, it's going to go and make it and snap to the grid. Now, all of this is just kind of a super useful. I'm going to go to maybe just this one and I'm going to edit the end and I'm going to make it smaller and you will see why in a second. So when you create maybe something like this, all the events are going to be just maybe super small. And this is something that you might not want because, it maybe looks funny. It depends on the samples that you're using too. But maybe I just want to select all and I'm going to be going to the edit end. And now I can just make the events a little bit longer. And now, it looks a little bit better, just a little bit better. Now then you have the transpose. And as you can notice with the nudge, when we select an event, and I'm going to select it right now, we can, move to the left, and I'm maybe going to need to go to the nudge. You can move it to the right, and you can move it to the left. But how can I, move it up and down? So for this, you can do it with your hand by selecting and just, by selecting and holding, you can go up. And, again, like I said before, just pressing and just dragging is a little bit funny with the finger. You can go to transpose, and this is what this will do. When you select it, you can go up on a more control fashion or go down. Here on a drum pad, it depends on what you want to do. And if you do have a sound there, which we do, I can maybe go up and just change the pad. But maybe this is a better example if we go to the bass track. if I go to bass, we have the notes right there. And right here is the same thing we've been doing. If you want to select something and you want to nudge it, you can. If you want to edit the start or edit the end of whatever, everything. Made a mistake right there. Let me find it. And again, sometimes it's a little bit funny. And you can maybe transpose it. So if I play back, I can go down and up on whatever it is that I'm using. Cool. And okay, now it's time to talk about the draw, which is the pencil and the erase. So when you select the draw, as you can guess, you can draw different events. So if I use the finger, I can just, even do something like this, and it will draw different events. Super simple. But also you can double tap the same event to remove it if you must. Then you have the erase tool, and on this one, as you could guess, we just tap things and we erase all the things that we did. If I select multiple things, just like this, I could go to the erase and erase everything at once. And that's it, you would use this to draw and this to erase. Still, to erase, you have other options that you can use. You can use the erase button. This is a different way, not from the grid, but this one is super useful. So if I set it to overdub and I play it back, it's gonna, of course, play back, and it's overdubbing. So we are recording. If you play something, of course, it will record it. But what you can do, you can go to the erase while this is playing, and you can press. And now you need to press and hold the pad, and it will live erase. It's called a live erase. So if I wanted to delete the kicks, it's just deleting the kicks. When I press this, if I want to remove the snares, it's the same deal. I hold it, and there we go. All the snares are gone. If I want to delete some of the hats, we could easily do it like this. Now, doing it from here, you can't see on the grid what you're doing, but you can do this while you are on this one. If I wanted to delete the claps, we can. So I'm gonna go back, and I will undo so we can get back what we just erased. Well, not that back. I'm gonna redo. So this time, I'm not going to press and hold. This time, I'm going to tap the button. I'm not pressing and holding, just turning the button on, just pressing it. And it will give you this screen. So this is the erase window, the erase function. And right here is a little bit different because you can target different sequences. If I wanted to erase something from the, something from a second sequence that I don't have, you can go to the other sequence and just delete something. But right here, you can go to tracks. So if I wanted to delete something from the bass track, I can do it. So, okay, in this case, I want to do the drums. The next part is going to be, where are you going to be deleting? So this function lets you target the parts that you want to delete. My simple sequence is a 2-bar sequence. So I need to select where I'm going to start erasing. And if I select 1 and 3, it's going to be pretty much the whole sequence. So I'm going to say start erasing on the bar number 1 and stop erasing at the bar number 2. So the first part of my tiny little sequence will get deleted. And notice it right now it says all. So I'm going to keep it on all. I'm going to say do it. And what happened is that it deleted the first part, just the first one. So I'm going to be undoing this and just go back to the erase. And just like this, you can target whatever it is that you want. Maybe I want to do bar 2 and then stop at 3. And if I do it, it's going to erase the other part. So this is super useful when you have something, a little bit longer and you want to target a very specific part and just, delete that part. Now, you also can do automation. If I go there, it means that it will delete an automation lane. We're going to talk about automation. And right here, you can choose which automation lane. So then you have notes. And on this one, you just need to press the pad. I'm not going to show you on the camera, but if I wanted to delete the kick, I know it's the A1. So if I tap it, it will select it right here. So now if I delete this, it's going to delete just the kicks. If I want to delete the snare, I just need to select the pad. It will select it right here. And then you just, maybe need to go to do it. And if I do so, notice that the snare and the kicks are not there anymore. So again, just a different way of deleting things. I'm gonna go erasing things. I'm gonna go back to erase, and the other one is gonna be the accept note. And it's the same thing than note, but backwards. Let's say I do kick and snare, so it's going to delete everything, but not the kick and not the snare. So it's the same thing but backwards. I'm going to go back and then I'm going to go back to the erase. So this is the all the way that you get to erase. It's a pretty cool, pretty cool function. And that's it, you don't have more options. And okay, so let's talk about automation. Notice that all my events are red. This means that the all the events, they are doing 127, which is the max velocity that you can get. So if I click or tap on that button, it will open the automation lane and it will say velocity. Now for this, I can maybe go there. Notice that it will show you all the events. And sometimes it's a little bit challenging, looking for something right here. But, it's a very small screen. I wish that maybe we could drag down this part, but you cannot do it. So in this case, it will show me the velocity. And what we can do, maybe we can target something. I'm going to go to the selection tool. I'm going to target those ones. Maybe I'm going to just target one. And that is what I said. It's just a little bit hard sometimes. There we go. And I'm going to select that one. Once it's selected, you can, with your finger, you can drag it down. And notice that it says velocity. So we can go up and down in velocity just like this. When it's also selected, if you move the wheel, the one that you have right here, the data wheel, it will go up and down in velocity. But the thing is that, notice that now I'm standing on the edit end. So I'm editing the end. I need to be on automation. If I go up and down, now we can control it with the data wheel. So again, just a different way of doing it. And I much prefer to do it with, the data wheel. Sometimes with the finger, it's just a little bit weird. Just like this, you could maybe select different paths. I'm going to go to the velocity of all, and I'm going to go down the velocity of all the kicks. Then I could go maybe to the snares and edit the snares, the hi-hats. I could do something like that. I'm gonna select all the events and I'm gonna delete them. And remember that we can, select all, and then we can go here and just kaboom, delete everything. If I play something, we have nothing. And I want to show you something else. If I go to the next one, it's going to be not velocity. The next one is going to be probability. And this one is the chance part of the sequencer, because, it's a sequencer. So on this one, we can, just to give you an example, I could add something there and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And now this one, we can select the probability. If I play it, it will go and it will always play it. But now, we can go down in the probability and now it has a 50% chance that it's going to play or not. In this case, it's displaying it. Let's see. And now it's not playing it. So, you can do something like this. In this case, I'm going to undo and bring the other sequence. And again, we could maybe select that one and then go down in probability. Now, it depends on what you have. Maybe I have some nodes right there at the bottom. You will need to, go here and go drag it. Notice it's moving. You can see it right there. So it says, but the thing is that the colors at the back, sometimes you're going to get confused. So, you need to make sure that you're dragging that one and not the other one. What do you get? Then the next one, it's going to be the ratchet. And all the sequencers and arpeggiators have these functions nowadays, probably and ratchet. So let me give you a good example. I'm going to pinch and zoom. I'm going to do the same thing we did before. I'm going to select everything and I'm going to delete it. And the only thing I want to do, maybe I want to add a snare, so I'm going to go to the pencil, I'm going to add it, and I'm going to go there, I'm going to edit the end, and just going to make it a little bit longer. So now the ratchet, what it will do, it will split this event in just multiple triggers. And since this one is selected, I guess I can go to automation and go up, and notice that we have different triggers right now, and right here will tell you how many. It's if it's off, if it's 2, if it's 3, 4, 5, and 8. So yeah, and if I maybe do 4 and I play it back, when we get to that snare, we're gonna get 4, right? And all this depends on the on the end. If I do less, now it's gonna be a little bit different. You are gonna get almost like you could get triplets, for example. If I make it less, it's gonna be faster. But we are playing it 4 times. There we go. I'm gonna go up. And we are going to get it, I guess, 7 times. All right, so I think that you get the idea. You can, when you create a sequence and you add your events, you could go to ratchet and maybe add a couple ones. If I go to the next one, I'm gonna reset the zoom. And sometimes I kind of miss when I press. It's not because the touch is bad. It's because the camera is right here. I have a microphone right here, and I am on this side of the screen. So sometimes it's a little bit funny to touch it, and it's just a little bit weird because I'm in a bad position. But the screen, the touch, it's actually pretty good. And also my nails are a little bit long because I'm a guitar player, and I need to record some tracks doing finger picking. And I don't know why I'm telling you this, but and I kind of need to grow my nails. I really hate long nails in real life. But okay, so you get the ratchet, you get the probability, and then at the end you have the volume, which is going to be volume automation. Now, this is not the volume of the events. Each event is about the track. And it's talking about, again, about the volume of the whole damn thing. So I could go, to the pencil and even draw something like this. And if I play it back, it will go up and down in volume. So this is automation, is volume automation. And you get it by default when you go to the automation lanes. Now there's a little bit more to automation. I'm gonna be showing you maybe on a different video. But again, it works like this. If you want to, edit this, you could go and just, paint it. Or if you want to go to delete, you can delete it all. All right, so this is what we can do with automation, the lanes that we have here. And this is something that you get on almost any, almost all the sequencers and even, groove boxes, just like this. They're just pretty common features. Okay, so back to the grid. If you go to the shift and you press and hold, you have some other options like cut, copy, and paste. And notice that it says TC. So this is the time correct. So while you're, on the grid view, you just can go to hold shift and then, hold it, and you can access the time correct window from here. Now, of course, not right here, you can copy, paste, and cut. This is just pretty simple. So I'm going to be, maybe copying this event. And what I want to do, maybe I want to copy. I'm going to be selecting. There we go. I want to paste it there. And I'm going to do shift and I'm going to be pasting it. And it will, go and copy and paste it. That's pretty much it. And we could go maybe to copy part of this. Now we have better functions for this, but, you can do it. Maybe I want to copy and I go out. And then maybe I want to create a new sequence, or I don't know, maybe a different, a different drum or a different track. And if I go here and I do shift and I do paste, it's gonna, paste it whatever my cursor is. You know what? I'm gonna be changing. I'm gonna put the playhead right here, and then I'm gonna shift, and then I'm gonna paste. And there you go. You can just copy paste. I guess. That's just pretty simple to understand. If I go back to the drums, you could do the same trick, but it's going to be cut. So whenever you cut, of course, it's like, your operating system on a computer is just going to chop whatever events, and then you can paste it whatever you want. Now, also, when you hold the shift, I think I forgot to tell you, you have the mute and the solo. Now this, maybe you're thinking, okay, so I could just select this events, and when I do shift, I can mute the events. No, this is not for this. This mute is the track mute, and the solo is just the solo. So when you go to solo, it's going to solo the whole kit, or it's going to mute the whole kit. It will not mute or solo the events. This is, that's not what you get. And if I even go to the main and go even to the tracks, you can see that this one, it's muted. And if I go to solo, you also get them right here, right? I'm going to go back to main, and you get the same mute and the same solo. So all of these tools are dedicated to do task to maybe a few events or maybe a lonely event just like this. And for that, it's cool. But if you go home and you go to the pencil right here, you have a lot of options. And notice it says edit. So this section, it's about editing a track or a sequence. For example, what happens if I want to erase the track or erase the events? Well, I could go to the grid, select everything, and just go to the delete, the erase, and delete them. Yeah, well, I could do that, but it's just much easier to go here and go and do erase events. And right here, notice that we get the erase, window when we press the erase button. It's just, much easier to do it this way. And if I play it, we don't have it. I'm gonna get it back with undo. And again, right here, you have a lot of different functions. What if you want to duplicate the length of your sequence? Right here, double length, half length. You can insert bars or even delete a very specific bar. So again, this is very, very important. And the sequence, the tracks, and the drum programs, they all have different options to perform edit functions. So yeah, on the next episode, I'm going to go one by one, go to the sequence, show you what you can do with all of these options. Then I'm going to go to the next one, show you what you can do with all of this, and then go to the drum program and show you what we can do with all of this. And okay, so we are done. If you liked all of this and you learned something new, please like and subscribe. And this channel, it's supported by viewers only. If you want to buy me a coffee to say thanks and help the channel keep going on, you can. You have links at the description for PayPal, YouTube Thanks, and Patreon.